The planet was quiet, almost too quiet. Thick green moss covered the ground like a soft carpet, and strange glowing flowers bloomed between jagged stones. Commander Elias Ward stepped carefully, his boots crunching on ancient rubble as he looked around. His visor displayed the usual readouts. Air was breathable. Radiation levels were safe, but his heart still beat faster than normal. Something about this place felt alive. "This site is different," said his AI companion Iris in her calm synthetic voice. "No recorded expedition has mapped this region. Proceed with caution." Elias smirked under his helmet. "When do I ever not?" He moved forward until the trees opened into a clearing. His breath caught. There, half buried under centuries of dirt and vines, lay what looked like a giant woman carved from stone. Her body was larger than a starship fighter, her hair flowing behind her like a river of rock. She wasn't lying peacefully, she was frozen mid-kneel, head bowed as if in eternal pain, and in her chest, 3 massive swords were buried, each blade glowed faintly, pulsing with a strange light like they were alive. Elias felt a chill run through him. "Iris, are you seeing this?" "Confirmed," the AI replied. "Energy readings are off the scale. Analysis suggests this figure is not a statue, but a preserved life form. Status unknown. Origin unknown." Elias stepped closer, brushing moss off one of the giant feet. The stone was warm. "She's not dead," he whispered. He climbed the rocky ground until he stood in front of the lowest sword. Its hilt was unlike anything he had ever seen. Metal and crystal fused together, glowing softly. "Commander," Iris warned, "I am detecting a containment field. Those swords may be acting as a lock. Interfering could destabilize the entire site." Elias stared at the hilt. For some reason, he couldn't look away. A strange feeling grew in his chest, like the sword was calling to him. He reached out a hand. "Elias, I must strongly advise against—" His fingers closed around the hilt. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the sword pulsed with light, and Elias felt a vibration run through his arm. It was not hostile, it felt welcoming. And before he realized what he was doing, he pulled. The sword slid free with a sound like thunder. The ground shook violently. Elias stumbled back, clutching the glowing weapon as the entire clearing came to life. The moss burned away in a ring around the figure, revealing smooth black stone beneath. Her head moved. Elias's breath caught in his throat. The giant woman's eyes flared open, 2 burning lights like miniature suns. Her stony skin cracked, glowing lines spreading across her body like veins of molten metal. Elias took a step back, his heart pounding. "Iris, what is happening?" "Seismic activity is increasing. Energy reading spiking. Commander, we should evacuate." But Elias couldn't move. He watched as the woman slowly lifted her head, her mouth opening for the first time in what must have been centuries. Her voice was deep, echoing, and filled with power. "Who," she said, her voice shaking the trees, "dares awaken me?" The sky darkened as if answering her words. Elias's helmet lights flickered, then everything went white. When Elias woke, he was no longer in the clearing. He was lying on a smooth floor of glowing crystal, somewhere deep underground. The air felt heavy, charged with strange energy. He sat up, gripping the sword that was still in his hand. Something moved in front of him. She stood there, the woman from the clearing, but no longer frozen. Her stone shell had fallen away, revealing dark metallic skin that shimmered under the glowing light. Her hair floated as if underwater, glowing faintly, her golden eyes fixed on him. "You," she said slowly, her voice calmer now though still powerful. "You removed the first seal." Elias struggled to find words. "You were buried. For how long?" She stepped closer, her movement smooth but strangely heavy as though gravity bent slightly around her. "Centuries," she said. "Perhaps longer. My name is Seraphine. I was bound here by my own kind." Elias frowned. "Why?" Her expression darkened. "Because I refused to let them destroy everything." He felt a chill again. There was a story here, a terrible one. Seraphine studied him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. "You are not like them," she said softly. "None of your kind has ever set foot here before. And yet you were able to draw the sword." She nodded at the glowing blade in his hand. "That sword was meant to never be removed. And yet you freed it as though it was waiting for you." Elias tightened his grip on the hilt. "What happens now?" Seraphine looked past him, her golden eyes narrowing. "They will come," she said. "The moment the first seal broke, every sensor in this sector felt it. My jailers will know I am awake. They will come to stop what has already begun." The ground shook again, as if agreeing with her words. Elias's throat felt dry. "And what if they find you still sealed?" "Then they will bury me again," Seraphine said simply. "Or destroy this entire world to make sure I never rise." Elias glanced at the sword again, then at the two other glowing blades still buried in her chest. "Do you want me to free you completely?" he asked carefully. Seraphine's smile widened, though there was something fierce in her expression. "Yes," she said. "But be warned, human. Each sword you pull brings me closer to my full power, and closer to the war that ended the stars." The ground rumbled again, stronger this time. Somewhere above, Elias heard the distant roar of engines. Iris's voice came through his comms. "Commander, we have incoming ships. Multiple signatures. Unknown design." Elias stood up, staring at Seraphine. "Looks like your jailers are already here," he said. Seraphine tilted her head, her golden hair glowing brighter. "Then, little human, we must decide, will you fight with me or run?" The light in her chest pulsed as if the two remaining swords were waiting for his answer. And for the first time, Elias felt that his next choice might decide the fate of more than just himself. The chamber shook again as dust rained from the crystal ceiling. Elias gritted his teeth, gripping the glowing sword tighter. The incoming ships were getting closer, and he knew they wouldn't be here to talk. Seraphine turned her gaze upward, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "They are early," she said almost to herself. "I expected more time." Elias took a step closer. "Who are they?" "Your people?" Seraphine's expression hardened. "Not mine anymore. They are the Warden clans, the ones who bound me. They fear me because I refuse to let their war consume everything. They will destroy this place if they must." Her voice was calm, but Elias could sense the fire behind it. "Then we have to move," he said quickly. "If they level this place, we'll both be dead." Seraphine shook her head slowly. "No. If we leave now, they will hunt us across the stars. I must stay until the other two swords are freed." Elias's stomach tightened. "And what happens when all three are out?" Her gaze turned to him, and for a moment Elias felt very small. "Then I will be whole again," she said, "and their war will end forever." He didn't know if that meant peace or something far worse. But there was no time to argue. Iris's voice crackled through his comms. "Commander, incoming craft are descending into the atmosphere. Estimated time to contact 6 minutes. Their weapons are armed." Seraphine stepped closer until her towering form cast a shadow over him. "You pulled the first sword. That means you have chosen a path. Will you see it through?" Elias looked at the sword in his hand. It hummed faintly, almost like it was alive. Something inside him said that putting it back was no longer an option. He nodded. "I guess I don't have much of a choice." Seraphine's lips curved in something like approval. "Then I will give you a fraction of my strength. You will need it." Before Elias could react, she touched 2 fingers to his forehead. A surge of golden light shot through him, filling every muscle with heat and power. He gasped as his vision sharpened, his reflexes quickened, and he felt stronger than he ever had in his life. "What did you do?" he asked, breathing hard. "I shared a sliver of my essence with you," she said. "The sword is now bonded to you. You are not just carrying it. You are carrying part of me." Elias tightened his grip on the blade, feeling its weight as if for the first time. A deep boom echoed through the chamber. The first blast had struck the surface above. "They are trying to break through," Seraphine said calmly. "We will greet them soon." Minutes later, the ceiling split open with a deafening crack. Light poured in as metal pods slammed into the ground, their sides unfolding to reveal tall armored figures. They were like living machines, their armor covered in glowing lines. Their helmets had no faces, only a single strip of red light. They moved in perfect unison, weapons raised. Elias raised his sword instinctively. The blade blazed with golden light, and the warden stopped for a fraction of a second as if surprised. "Stand down." One of them boomed in a deep mechanical voice. "Containment breach detected. Return the seal or be neutralized." Elias glanced at Seraphine. She stood tall, her golden hair floating around her like a halo. "You will not bind me again," she said, her voice ringing like thunder. "Leave now or I will tear apart your war fleets." The wardens did not reply. They opened fire, Bolts of red energy filled the air. Elias barely had time to think before the sword moved on its own, spinning in his hand and deflecting the first blast. His enhanced reflexes kicked in, and he rolled behind a piece of broken stone. Seraphine leapt forward, faster than anything Elias had ever seen. Her fist smashed into the ground, sending a shockwave that knocked 3 wardens off their feet. The others opened fire again, but she moved like a storm, weaving through them and striking with pinpoint precision. "Elias!" Iris shouted through his helmet. "You have to help her. If they overwhelm her, we're finished." Elias gritted his teeth and charged forward. The sword glowed brighter, and somehow he knew exactly where to swing. The blade cut through the warden's weapon like paper, the energy dissolving into sparks. The fight was fast and brutal. The wardens were skilled, but Seraphine was unstoppable, and Elias fought like a man possessed. When the last warden fell, the chamber was filled with smoke and the smell of scorched metal. Elias dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Seraphine stood over him, calm as ever, though her glowing hair dimmed slightly. "You fought well, human." Elias let out a shaky laugh. "That was insane. I almost died 5 times. You lived," she said simply. "That is what matters." He stood up slowly, wiping sweat from his brow. "They'll send more. Maybe a whole army next time." "Yes," she said. "Which is why we must act before they do." Elias frowned. "You mean pull the second sword?" Seraphine nodded. "Each sword you free gives me back more of my strength. When the third is removed, I will no longer be bound by this world's gravity. But that will also make the clans desperate. They will stop at nothing to prevent it." Elias stared at the 2 remaining swords still glowing in her chest. "And if I refuse?" Her expression softened. "Then I will remain here half awake until they find a way to bury me again. But you will not survive. They cannot let you leave with what you now carry." Iris's voice came through again, quieter this time. "Commander Seraphine is correct. You have been marked by the sword's energy signature. They will hunt you across the galaxy. Your options are limited." Elias closed his eyes for a moment, then looked back at Seraphine. "Fine, we pull the next one. But you'd better tell me everything before we do." Seraphine's golden eyes glowed brighter, and for the first time she looked almost proud. "Then you shall know," she said. "Come. There is much to explain before the next battle." As they moved deeper into the glowing tunnels, Elias felt the sword hum softly in his hand, as though it approved of his choice. He knew there was no turning back now. Deep beneath the planet's surface, Elias stood in the heart of Seraphine's chamber. The 2 remaining swords still glowed in her chest, their light pulsing slowly like 2 giant heartbeats. The air was warm, heavy with energy. Seraphine stood before him, calm but watchful. Her golden eyes glowed faintly as if reading him. "You asked for the truth," she said. "Listen carefully, human." Elias nodded, gripping the first sword tightly. She pointed to the glowing blades. "When the 3 swords were placed in me, they sealed my power, my mind, and my will. With 1 removed, I can move. With 2 removed, I can shape the battlefield. With all 3 removed..." She paused, her expression darkening. "I will burn with the full strength of a war goddess. That power will not come without cost." Elias frowned. "What cost?" She turned away, her hair glowing brighter. "The planet will not survive. The energy will consume its core to fuel my awakening." Elias froze. "You mean everything here will die?" Seraphine faced him again, her expression unreadable. "Yes, but if I am not freed, the Warden clans will destroy far more than this one world. They will unleash war on every colony within reach. Millions will die." Elias's stomach twisted. It was a terrible choice. Save one world or risk a galaxy-wide war. Before he could speak, Iris interrupted on his comms. "Commander, enemy fleet incoming. This is a full-scale operation. At least 20 capital ships in orbit. Drop pods are launching. Estimated arrival, 5 minutes." Elias cursed under his breath. "They really want you gone, don't they?" Seraphine's golden eyes narrowed. "They fear what I am. But you have seen their methods. You know they will not stop until they erase me." Elias paced, thinking fast. "If we pull that last sword, we win the fight but lose the planet. If we don't, they wipe us out. There has to be another way." Seraphine tilted her head. "Do humans always search for another way?" "Yeah," Elias said grimly. "It's kind of what we do." The ground shook violently. Cracks spread across the chamber floor as enemy pods began slamming into the surface above. Elias turned to Seraphine. "We need a plan." She nodded once. "Then we make our stand here." Hold them until you choose. Elias tightened his grip on the sword. Let's do it. The attack came fast. The chamber ceiling exploded as dozens of wardens dropped in, their weapons glowing. Elias and Seraphine moved together this time, an unspoken rhythm between them. She struck like lightning, her glowing hair leaving golden trails as she slammed enemies aside. Elias darted between them, his enhanced speed and strength turning him into a blur. The sword sang in his hand, deflecting blasts and cutting through armor. Each strike felt guided, as if Seraphine herself was inside his mind. But there were too many. More pods kept dropping, and soon they were surrounded. Elias, Iris warned, you will not hold them much longer. Their reinforcements are endless. Elias gritted his teeth. His eyes darted to the last sword still buried in Seraphine's chest. Seraphine met his gaze. Pull it, she said, her voice sharp. And this, he hesitated. He could feel the planet beneath them, its life pulsing faintly like a living thing. No, he said. Not like this. Seraphine's expression hardened. Do not be foolish, human. Your courage will not save you if you die here. Maybe not, Elias said, but there's still one thing I can try. He tapped the side of his helmet. Iris, patch me into their fleet's comms. Commander, Iris replied nervously. That is dangerous. Do it. Static filled his ears. Then a harsh voice spoke. Unidentified human. You are interfering in matters beyond your kind. Surrender the sword and step away from the prisoner. Elias laughed bitterly. You mean step away so you can bury her again or blow this planet apart? Compliance is not optional, yeah? Elias said, gripping the sword tightly. Here's my counteroffer. Stand down or I overload every reactor on your ships. I've been studying your tech since the first fight. I can make it happen. There was a pause. Even Seraphine looked at him in surprise. You're bluffing, the voice said coldly. Elias smiled grimly. Try me. He slammed the sword into the ground. Golden energy raced through the crystal floor, spreading like fire. The wardens froze as their armor lit up with warning signals. Your fleet's power cores are linked to this world's energy grid, aren't they? Elias said. All it takes is a little push from her power, and my AI's hacking protocols. One wrong move and you'll be the ones turning into stardust. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then the voice spoke again, lower this time. You would destroy us all? Elias's grip tightened. Not if you leave. Go now and no more swords need to be pulled. She stays here, this world stays alive, and you stay in one piece. Take the deal. Another long pause. Then slowly the red lights on the warden's armor dimmed. One by one they stepped back toward their pods. Human, the voice said, grudgingly respectful. You have secured a temporary victory. But this is not over. The pods launched back toward the sky. The rumbling faded, leaving silence. Elias let out a long breath and collapsed against a wall, exhausted. Seraphine stood over him, her golden hair glowing softly. You did not pull the last sword, she said, her voice unreadable. No, Elias said, staring at the blade still in her chest. Because I think the galaxy needs you, but not like that. You said you wanted to end their war. Well, now you can do it without burning everything down. For a long moment, Seraphine said nothing. Then she knelt so her eyes were level with his. You are a strange creature, Elias Ward, she said softly. You risked everything, not to destroy, but to save. He managed a tired grin. That's kind of our thing. Slowly, Seraphine reached out and placed a massive hand on his shoulder. Very well, human. I will honor your choice. I will wait. And when the time is right, I will rise again, not as a weapon, but as a shield. The sword in Elias's hand dimmed, its glow settling into a calm pulse. Guess that means we're partners now, Elias said quietly. Yes, Seraphine said, her golden eyes shining. Partners. Elias stood, looking toward the surface. Somewhere above, the stars were still waiting, and so was the war. But for now, they had won.